going on, MLP? Chris, Jesse Garcia here to just chit chat. Not necessarily about anything.
Yeah, we came in today with no game plan.
Yeah, we have zero game plan. So this is winging it. It's probably going to be our best one yet. So give a little background, who you are, where you've been, what's your experience with working out and mainly baseball. Obviously, that's more of your background.
Yeah, well, I attended El Camino High School. That's in Carmichael. I'm a friend of Chris Cottingham's. We play baseball together at Sierra.
Friend is a loose term.
Friend is an understatement.
Significant other is more appropriate.
But yeah, I played baseball in my life. Played football, baseball, basketball in high school. So I've always been.
You played basketball too?
Yeah, a little bit. Never on the team, but you know, that was my third sport. It was a little bit too much for me to play three sports in high school. My grades kind of sliding off a little bit. So never was big on basketball, but big on football, big on baseball. Played it all my life. Ended up having a few surgeries during college. I attended Sierra College for 2 years. Went to UNLV after that, got a scholarship to play there. Yeah, man. So I've experienced fitness on the power side of things, and really having to pay attention to the smaller, high repetition kind of workouts as far as like rehabbing the body and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so you know what was news to me? I remember we were chit-chatting, I think when you first came back into the gym, like you were talking about football, and I was like, oh, you ain't good at football, blah, 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 joking around. And then you told me you were, what, all conference?
All league.
All league quarterback. And I was like, dang, I had no idea.
I don't know how people know that about me, but my physique doesn't tell you.
See, the way I'm built.
Yeah.
So what was the scenario? What made you choose baseball over football? Because obviously you probably had some opportunities to play football somewhere.
Well, not necessarily with football. I mean, like small schools, JCs.
Yeah.
I kind of chit-chat with them here and there, but baseball was my thing. Man. I was always a lot better than baseball. I always tell people, I actually liked playing football in high school a lot better than baseball. There's something about the Friday night lights for me, but.
I was gonna say it. I remember playing. I only played freshman, sophomore year, and it was fun, but I wasn't very good. So it was one of those where it was like, at some point, I know I'm just not gonna enjoy it because I'm gonna get smacked around too much.
What position did you play?
Backup quarterback because I'm 5'9", and then like free safety, strong safety, like generically athletic. Not gonna make an amazing play, and I'd get burned by guys that were just fast. You know what I mean? So I wasn't gonna be. All conference, all metro, all league guy at all. So it was choose baseball. Kind of like what you did. It was like JC route and then a Nevada team.
Yeah.
For college.
Similar kind of career.
Yeah, exactly.
With like injuries, surgeries in the shoulder, and I had mine in the leg. I think we had the same similar story with that kind of stuff.
And I think you took it a lot further in regards to. You took that rehab and you took that injury as like a marker of like, hey man, I got to get better, right? And you rehabbed it really hard. Like when I got injured the second time after my arm injury in my hip, it was kind of like, man, I'm not into it anymore. You know what I mean? I just didn't rehab as hard. Stopped taking care of myself. Started focusing on other stuff, and then I fizzled out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you took it serious. You had a couple tryouts with some pro teams, right, at some point?
Yeah. At one point, I had a couple tryouts with. I got to go down and do a showcase with the New York Mets, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I did a private workout for them at one point. But yeah, man. I mean, back to your story about like getting back into it after a big surgery or whatnot. It's definitely a mental challenge. Your body's just not the same afterwards. And some say it never is the same.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you repair it. So. Yeah, dealing with that stuff was a mental challenge, and I got to the point where I was just I had a lot of support in the back and a lot of family support, a lot of friend support to kind of keep going with stuff. So once I was ready to go, I had that going, and school was still an opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's true.
To keep me motivated throughout the process. So.
You want to go over a little bit of like what was your big injury, because yours was kind of unique, right?
Right.
Not very many people had this kind of injury when it came to this sport. So what was your injury?
So between freshman and sophomore year at Sierra, I developed a pain in my heel, and I thought it was what is that called? so a lot of the stuff I treated it as such, foam rolling, ice rolling, did cortisone shots into the heel, which was excruciating pain.
I was gonna say it's a lot of pain.
Long story short, ended up taking it out between my junior and senior year. It was, one of the things they do when they pull something out of your body like that is they biopsy it. It turned out to be what they call synovial sarcoma. Really don't know how to describe what it is, to be honest, but I just know it's super rare. So yeah, it was, luckily for me, it never spread throughout the body, but yeah, it was something I dealt with for a few years. Kind of came back and forth on me throughout the time,
So what was obviously? Do you do some sort of chemo, or what kind of like therapy did you have to go
No,
through?
yeah, well, people, hear the term cancer, they're like, oh man, you had to go through all this stuff. For me, fortunately, I was only having to do chemo through like a pill form, and it was like radiation from the waist down.
Okay.
So it was a little bit lighter dose.
It's a little scary.
Yeah, it's still scary, but I mean, a little bit lighter dose of what, other people have to suffer through, man, so fortunately for me, I was able to come out healthy. I still have a little limp in my leg, which you make fun of me all the time for.
It's just his gangster lean,
no.
man. He's from El Camino. What do you expect? Granite Bay guys didn't have that.
Yeah, man, but yeah, came back. I was able to rehab it. Like I said, it was never the same as far as like it was my push-off foot. I was a pitcher, so a lot of pushing off.
I was gonna say that's some power loss probably.
Yeah.
And you say you still feel it today, right?
Yeah. There's still like a lot of scar tissue buildup down there.
Yeah.
So, after baseball, I'm not gonna lie, I tended to neglect the rehab process. It ended up getting affected again to where I had to go back in there and like
Redo the whole thing,
yeah,
basically.
essentially, yeah.
Dang.
And then, but after that, I'm not playing sports anymore, so there's not really anything to go down and work for. So
Yeah, like you definitely lose the motivation. You lose the competitiveness.
right.
Well, and that's something that I kind of I have conversations with obviously a lot of dads, and a lot of dads are very honest about like where their kids at. So one of them is local guy. I still see him constantly. We always talk about it. He's like, I don't really care if like this changes him into a D1 guy or a pro guy, but at the end of the day, developing the habit of fitness, taking care of your body, eating healthy, sleeping right, hydrating properly, that's the stuff. He's like, that's the building blocks for being a healthy person, right? And so like for me, when I was younger, obviously there was motivation to do it for the sport, and then you take that sport away, even in like an off season, and you lose the motivation, right? And so that's where it's kind of one of those things where I see it now from a different perspective, but he has a right perspective as a dad teaching their kids, and I know both their kids. I've trained both their kids, and now both of them are. One of them's doing CrossFit classes. One of them's going to UCLA and not playing ball, but definitely he's in the gym every day. I got a video from him not too long ago about him working out, and that's the habit, right? Mm-hmm. And then with that rehab stuff, that's the same thing. It's like you got to develop the habit of taking care of yourself, and it's like this lifelong thing that you've built up that you'll continue to do most of your life.
Right.
And I think a lot of guys, and you'll see it for NFL players, so they end their time in the league, and all of a sudden like they blow up, they stop working out. There's nothing behind them.
Some of these guys on ESPN and Sports Center nowadays, like whoa.
Well, do you remember when? I'm gonna name drop Shaquille O'Neal. Hopefully he doesn't go on this. Like, don't mention my name. Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal like got fat.
Yeah.
Like I forgot what year it was. He got fat, but then like he started shredding up real quick, and now he's jacked again.
Yeah.
It's big. But yeah, you see that with a lot of people. Where the habits for one reason, and you take that reason away, and it's no longer a habit.
Right.
So it's kind of hard.
Well, I think a lot of it, with anything in life, it's just important to build routines, and once you get into the habit of the routine, it's a little bit easier to come by at the end of the day. But I mean, the hardest part is just starting that routine and getting into the habit. For me, with the rehab stuff, with a little bit of push and stuff like that on the back end, after a couple weeks, you tend to like, okay, you're doing it on your own. It's not strenuous, it's not such a mental challenge. So yeah, it's hard to get into it, but once you start going with those things, I think it's easier to come by.
So what's the saying? It takes 21 days of repetitiveness to develop a habit, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I know, I've heard that too, but I've also heard someone say it takes like 48 attempts.
Yeah.
Like, okay, weird.
There's this little weird juju towards it. Over
Yeah. What number is it?
Yeah.
Did I do it 42 or did I do it
I wish
43?
it was 3.
Yeah. I seriously remember this one time. I think I was in junior in high school, senior in high school, and my mom changed in the laundry room where the towels were.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get the hang of it. I just opened up this drawer. I'm like, where'd the towels go? And I'm just basically a 12-year-old boy at that point, and I closed it and be like, Mom, where's the towels? And then she would be like, I moved them. Like, I've told you this 8 times, 8 days in a row.
When are you gonna get it, dude?
I know, and I couldn't figure it out. And that's, I see that in here too, where I'll tell them one thing and they'll do it once, and then I'll come back around to the next group and same thing, they're messing it up. And then I think of that, me being dumb towel time. It's like, all right, I'll give these kids a break. It takes them a little bit longer to catch on.
Yeah. Especially kids nowadays. No. I'm just kidding.
Instagram. I see that all the time. I think it actually has a negative effect on attention span or following instructions generally.
What's the Instagram?
Yeah, well, whatever social
Social media,
media is,
yeah.
it's just, everything is so quick and so whatever, and it's hard to like keep focus. And I'll fall into I catch myself on YouTube and I'm clicking it, and like there's a feeling in me that it's like if you watch a good video or like a podcast, you listen to that on YouTube, and it's like that feeling is good, and then you want that feeling sooner, and you want that feeling right now, and you want that feeling, and so then like nothing is really satisfying you at some point in regards to like the YouTube
Right.
or the Instagram or whatever it is, and so that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Well, you see, I mean, you said it nowadays. It's hard to even conversate with people sometimes, just because they're just so like zoned in on what they're doing. You know, just like look up.
Look up, put the phone down, you'll be all right.
It's going to be okay.
FOMO hits hard.
Yeah.
So I'm off Facebook. We only have the Instagram page for me now, and I don't even control it, which is wonderful. But then I get myself caught up on like wanting to do a video of this and post it on Facebook or on YouTube, and then even then it's kind of like an addiction of like how many views did I get?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, is this gonna become a little bit more popular? Is this, you know, did this hit? Did this strike a nerve with some people, like being controversial or whatever it is? And I catch myself, and it's like, okay, you gotta turn the computer down, and you gotta walk away from this, because you're gonna start driving yourself nuts.
Well, I mean, a lot of people look at it that way too, but I mean, that's just a new way, man. I mean, you can like kind of like push that away or kind of accept it, you know. And you know, social media is that's just a new way.
I thought it was gonna be like when we were in high school and like Facebook first. I think we were seniors. MySpace. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
my
funny.
best friend?
It's funny because it was on the computer. It wasn't on the cell phone. We weren't as addicted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
You had to wait till you get home.
yeah, and at that point it was like dial up. Like
even before that, AOL Instant Messenger. You got it.
you got me. Yes. Click. But also, we are so limited in regards to access. It made it that positive feeling I was just talking about. It was more aggressive of a positive feeling, and it was way further separated. So it made it like a little bit better each time you signed on.
Right.
But yeah, like I talked to these kids, and they've heard. I've heard of what dial-up is. Don't do that. Sit. You dingus. Down. Okay, chew on your ball. Down.
You're interrupting goal here.
I know. So we're limited like dial-up, and the other day, I think it was probably about 2 weeks ago, I played the dial-up tone for these kids. They're like, "What is that?" I was like, that was joy for us.
It
It was
piss
like,
off your parents. That's for sure.
gotta turn on the volume real quick.
But do you remember that? Like, because when you dialed up and you were connected, if you got on the phone and picked it up, it would disconnect
You
from the
immediately.
internet.
Yeah.
So my mom would get pissed. Come downstairs and you go to a whooping. So,
The old Puerto Rican woman. Yeah, no, the access thing, and I think we got a taste of both, right? We got a taste of, we didn't really have internet. There was internet, but most people didn't have it.
yeah.
And you basically had, my sister mentioned it, we had 4 channels. 2 spoke Spanish, and 1 was fuzzy all the time.
Yeah.
And so we got that, and then we also have this like drastic change. Sit down. This drastic change of now we have unlimited access all the time. We can get information whenever we want it. Whereas like our parents, they got, I mean, depending on how far you want to go back, because I think my dad, they got a TV when he was 12 or something like that, or like the neighborhood that they were living in was at 12. So it was like he got radio, he got TV, color TV, and then more channels basically. And then obviously they ended up towards the end of his life getting like cell phones started coming out, but they weren't using it like we do.
No.
But we had basically color TV into cable, internet, and now unlimited access. So we have a much broader spectrum. So we can kind of be able to talk about both. But for them, it was like, oh, I don't know how to use this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I talk to my dad sometimes, so I can help him out with all this new stuff that's coming out. And I'll say there is some stuff that's coming out nowadays that I'm even unfamiliar with. I'm just feeling like, oh man.
Do you have like a? Do you know? Do you have an example?
Like I was telling you earlier, I got one of those Roku devices.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you sign up and log in or whatnot, but there's just it's complex, man. You got to go into this device. You got to click on this app, and you got to log into this app. I mean, it's essentially like an iPhone or whatnot. But
yeah, but the whole logging in thing, because
it's advanced, man.
there
It's
is
a lot.
on the Roku or on the Fire Stick. It's like, yes, you're getting away from cable. But you also kind of need a cable subscription.
Yeah.
Like, are you paying for that?
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting paid.
You know what I mean?
Signing up for it. No.
Oh, and then it's funny. It's a full circle at this point. So we got cable TV, which is you paid for a cable and you get basically all the channels that whatever plan you were on. Now you get the Fire Stick and you get individual apps for basically that channel or whatever. And then at what point do people start getting smart and just bundle it all together and you basically have cable TV and you pay for it more?
Yeah.
It's more expensive. Like Netflix now is $18.
What? I hope not. I think what?
Bro. Yeah. And it seems like, it was like what, $9.99 for a couple years.
Yeah.
And it seems like every year now, or even every 6 months, it's going up 99 cents or whatever. So at some point, you're paying for only Netflix, and that's your new cable.
Yeah.
Kind of fucking annoying.
There's so many good things nowadays.
But yeah, well, that was a little off track, but
Hey, we told you this was going to be random.
this is random.
This is random chatter. One point to the next.
So we're gonna go back to the rehab stuff. So in those pro workouts with the New York Mets and the Diamondbacks, what were some of the things that they were telling you that they liked, disliked, or were they not very communicative?
I remember it was Doug. I remember the guy's name from the Mets. It was Doug Thurman. Me and him were in contact a lot. Thurman. It was like Doug Thurman, and I mean, you just have conversations with these guys. They kind of just let you know what the game plan is for these workouts, and they kind of tell you expectations. A lot of the times, they tell you what could potentially happen. It's a tough business, man, because
You want to keep guys interested, but you don't want
right.
to have too big of a carrot out in front.
Right. I mean, you could be talking to like a player, and like you want to, as a scout, I feel like you want to like hype him up and keep him interested in a way, because if you do end up signing him, you're gonna want him to sign with your team.
Yeah.
So there was always that, but I don't feel like any of them I never really had a lot of conversations about like workout expectations or what I needed to do to get better, or anything like that. It's kind of just, hey, here's where we're at with this. This is where we plan on doing with you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because at the pro level, man, you're expected to kind of be there and have all that stuff. There's not really a lot of expectations set on what you need to adjust on. And if I feel like if a guy is in his sophomore year or junior year and he gets drafted and he doesn't end up getting drafted, there's that communication with the scout saying like, oh, here's what you need to do better for next year.
Here's your weaknesses.
Yeah.
This is what we see in the scouting report.
Right. Here's
Whatever
what you
it is.
need to be stronger at.
Yeah.
With me, I was going with so much between my junior and senior year. I was just kind of talking to scouts, but then I had the foot problem, so I didn't really have all that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're limited because you
Yeah.
couldn't really necessarily like work out that much outside of some upper body stuff.
Right. Well, after I'd had the surgeries and stuff like that, kind of went to the rehab, and then I went into the independent league. non-affiliated professional baseball. You know,
How'd you like that? How was that?
It was cool, man. It was a good experience. You know, it was my little touch of professional baseball, and because after my senior year, I didn't get drafted, and I was coming back off my foot injury, so I didn't get picked up by an affiliated team.
Yeah.
So independent league was my route to go, and I had to start at the bottom of the ladder. There was this little league out in Sonoma, a small time league, nothing crazy. There was probably about 6 teams in that league at the time, and ended up coming in there as a bullpen guy and worked my way up into the starting role and had good numbers. I ended up getting traded to a team out in the Can-Am, which is another independent league in Canada. So I went to Quebec City.
Oh.
I went there.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. It was I went there only for about 2 months.
So is that like
scrimmages?
Is that like a bigger or higher division independent ball?
Yeah. Next step up from where I was at.
Oh, no, that's cool.
It was a same
non-affiliated
professional baseball, but it's a more competitive league.
Than the one you were at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can-Am's one of the more popular leagues where a lot of guys get picked up out of. And
oh, really? Okay. Like a free agent, like pickup.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the independent league. Those are they're 4 guys that don't get drafted out of college, or guys like me that are seniors, or guys that are coming off injury, didn't get picked up. It gives them more opportunity to get back into it, kind of thing.
Still getting some ABs and some
Right.
innings on the mound,
Right.
but also did you have to work a second job at that point?
No, it's actually cool because some leagues, if you're, you work out a little small contract with whatever team you're going to. In my situation, I was $1,200 a month. You get a little stipend, and most leagues they'll help you out with housing, whether it's getting you with a guest family or depending on where you're at. I know out in Canada they put us in bunkers. There was like this little high school type place that had little bunker style places with apartments. It was weird. It wasn't apartments, but it was like bunker style,
Was it like
separated.
a poor dorm room?
Yeah, almost like a dorm room. Almost.
Okay, that's kind of fun.
I shared it with the player on the team. It's exactly like a dorm room. If you can
Okay.
imagine that. So small, simple, refrigerator in there, little bathroom down the hall, and all that good stuff. So
That's kind of rad.
yeah, man, and they pay for like I said, breakfast is all you really would need to worry about. But your host family usually has food in there for you. You get to the yard, you do your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and afterwards it was kind of cool because they would have an independent or the small town Sonoma. They would have a lot of restaurants that are local that sponsor the teams, and so they do like little meals for us afterwards and have a nice little spread for us after the games. It was cool, man. It was a nice little taste of the pro setup. But that's as far as I got was the Can-Am league. My foot ended up getting infected a couple times, so I had to, I had to go do the foot thing after that. I actually came home from Can-Am or Canada. Ended up doing the foot thing. Tried to go back to Sonoma to play, and wasn't the same after that, so I ended up quitting.
Yeah, hung him up.
Yeah, hung him up.
That's it's a sad day, man. Because how were you? Because I have stories about this for myself that we'll go over. But how were you mentally coming off of hanging up your cleats?
It was tough, man. It was a tough thing for me personally because I was like at the verge, like my junior year, man. I had pro teams, reaching out to me, sending me letters. So I feel like I was right on the cusp of making it. But then the foot thing happened, and try not to let it be an excuse in my life to why I didn't make it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of when you get towards the end, you have a lot of just like anybody else would. You think about the things you could have done better.
It's the Monday morning quarterback syndrome. You know what I mean? Like, if I only have not made that crappy pass, I would have won the game.
I would have worked out a little bit harder if I would have the biggest thing for me was telling myself not to do it the next day kind of mentality anymore. I did a lot of that growing up, and then you listen to your parents. They're always telling you like, hey, don't wait till tomorrow. All your coaches telling you, and you have that kind of stuff you think about. But I had a good career, man. I still got like I said, a taste of the pro setup, and
A
Played
lot
a
of
long career,
a lot
got
of
to travel.
baseball experience. You got paid a little bit for it,
Yeah,
and that's
got to meet a lot of cool people, you know.
when I know on the mental side, coming off of me being done up at UNR, like it was a identity shock, right? So you probably related to this, like, and this is not what I was thinking at the time. Obviously, I'm thinking about it as being more mature now. When I was done, I was no longer Chris the baseball player, right? I was Chris couldn't make it in baseball, or
Right.
Chris Home Depot worker, or Chris just a student, or whatever it was. It was no longer the thing I've been identifying with since I was like 9 years old, right? So
It's almost like you're not as confident.
oh, 100%.
You lose
Like,
a lot of confidence.
yeah, I guess you could probably call it some sort of depression. I barely remember a lot of like college time. We're not gonna go too shit. Let's not talk about
Until you
this.
head out.
Cut and cut. Hey, welcome back, guys. Chris Cotty here. Hey. No, it was yeah. So it was a very hard time, but you didn't really understand it at the moment. You filled it with other stuff. Obviously, part of mine was like partying, going to meeting friends, like being the social butterfly. But then you start to settle into, all right, time to move on and find my other purpose. And obviously, part of it is some people become like a coach. Like you and I both have coached multiple levels to stay in the game, or you kind of fill it with what I did in the beginning, which was a lot of drinking and partying, right? And so I think there was like a time and period where I was kind of doing both, and then it got more serious on this way, and now we're owning a gym, doing that kind of stuff. And you guys, probably a similar situation where you got distracted, but you wanted to get back into it, and as you got back into it, you started gaining that momentum again, and now you guys are running a successful travel ball team.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to get that, you know, being around that travel ball, you start to get that baseball itch again, you know, man. Like, similar to you, you know, after I had the surgeries, you know, I didn't make the best decisions, you know, you go through that, you know, my mom had cancer too, and I lost my mom at the time, and, you know, so I was going through a lot with that, and you know, you stay busy with a lot of stuff. You try to be around people, and you find these other things to cope with it all.
Yep.
Instead of just kind of dealing with it mentally. When you try to deal with it, you know, you just get more depressed. So, you know, I went through that phase for a while, and I actually feel like, because like you mentioned, me and my buddy started a travel ball team. He started it, my buddy Kyle, but I'm kind of helping him out with it all. I'm the pitching guy for the program, and last year and a half, man, it's been the best. I'm starting to feel where I was before all of it went down in the first place. You know, I get that passion, and then, you know, I start getting that, you know, bounce again when I'm playing baseball out there, you know, so.
Well, it's also funny. It's funny to see you in here. Obviously, you know, Josh Morton,
Yeah.
is back in the gym. He coached us, right? And it's fun to see him in here, and you can see he still has the itch. I don't think he ever lost that itch.
Yeah.
And then you and me like conversate with him, and it kind of brings back some of that, like you're saying, that vibe, right? And we're conversating with other baseball guys that are pretty into absorbing information, and if we can give them as much information as we can, it gives us that same feeling of like when we were playing. That's at least for me. But yeah, that vibe, that kind of like, I kind of want to get in the cage and take a couple hacks now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, dude, I was at the travel ball tournament the other day. My 12U, we ended up winning the championship for the first time. Little personal, what's that called? Milestone there for me.
Yeah,
But,
there you go.
no, it was my first championship with the program, and it's my 12U team. You know, you go through that process of working hard with them all the time, and kind of coaching the way that you learned growing up. Like you said, stuff that you learned from guys like Coach Mort, and you learn from playing with your boys, and you try to, you know, relay that information to the younger crowd the best you can, and then you go through that. You know, we won a championship the other day, and, you know, I got a little emotional at the end too.
Oh yeah.
You know, dude.
Wow, you do have a heart.
I do have a heart. You know?
It's there. It's really dark.
I look pissed
Kinda
all the
black.
time, but I have a heart. Right there.
You got it.
But no, man, we won the championship, and I couldn't control it. You know, afterwards I was talking to the team, talking to the parents, you know, and you know, I thought about my parents and my mom, and back in the day, and all that happiness kind of hit me right then and there. I don't know why. It was kind of weird, but yeah, man, baseball does that to you. You know, whether you're a hard ass or you know you're a super cool guy, you know, you always have that emotion and passion for sports and baseball. So
Yeah, I kind of went the opposite direction in regards to like I don't really watch baseball anymore.
I never watched baseball.
Well, and that's
before in my life. Like on TV, I love playing it more than I watch it. I can't.
yeah, that's true. But like I would watch guys ABs a lot, like see how they're hitting and like kind of that kind of stuff. But the overall game, like when you go to a stadium, it's like the vibe is great.
Right.
But like watching the game, like we wanted to play it, right? And I think there's part of me that now wishes I would have watched more, right? So then I can relay some more information back down to these players and like these 12-year-old kids.
Just like the little details of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, one of the things that I've seen only a few times in the pros, but I was a part of multiple times at Sierra, was dual runner, going from second to third, and we got a rundown from the guy from third and home, right?
Twins.
Yeah, twins. Was it you tagged no. Hey, stop it. There's like literally no one. Down.
Tag the third runner at third and then the runner at second, right?
You say you're out because he's actually not out because he has priority to the bag, and then you tag the second guy, which is now he's actually out.
The runner coming from second. Right?
Coming from second, you tag him, but then that guy thinks he's out, so he gets off the bag. You tag him, he's off the bag, and now they're both out, right? And that's the play. That's twins.
Right.
I had never known that. I mean, I think at Granite Bay they told me that once, but basically a 12-year-old, so I didn't absorb that information. But we did that. Sierra, I was part of that multiple times, and then like every once in a while, like I would think that the pros would get into that kind of stuff, but they didn't.
Right.
But then the couple times that they did, it was like, I mean, they probably haven't run that play in 600 games, right? But then when they do it, they remember it. I'm like, that's cool, because
Right.
I've done that. But then obviously now it's like I watch games and it's like, man, all that the flooding of the Monday morning quarterback stuff comes back, and it's like that's why I don't like watching it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I like watching it because then it was like I was part of that play when I played, but now I don't watch it because it's like that itch is still there,
Right.
but there's no possible way I can scratch it.
I'm with you, bro.
You know what I mean?
I'm with you, man. Because you get that feeling of like, God, I should be there almost, or I could do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, or you see guys, like for me, like I see a lot of guys that I competed with at a young age, you know, and like whether it be high school, college, you know, I see guys that, you know, I just kind of competed, like I was at the same level,
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, as a competitor, you know, you're always
Yeah,
gonna
you're
have
always
that
gonna have that.
confidence, you know. I'm sure the guys on the other end are like, yeah, right, you weren't that good.
You
But
suck.
For me, yeah, for me personally, I feel like I can compete with those guys. So whenever I watch the game and I see him playing on TV, I'm just kind of like, God dang, I was right there with you, man.
What could I have done differently?
Right, back to that
Yep.
feeling of thinking about regret. I'm like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
So
So similar situation, and a guy that really he didn't show me up, but he definitely showed me up. I was a senior, he was a freshman. Max Stassi. The Stassi family has produced many great. Brock, Max, their dad was a pretty successful baseball player, a great coach up at Yuba City High School. I was a senior. I would like to put myself at a top level of a pretty good catcher in the league, and here comes this freshman. He wasn't little. I mean, he was a little shorter than me, but he was pretty stout. We're chit-chatting. I'm up to bat, and he's just saying, "Hey, Chris, how's it going?" I'm like, "Hey, I don't know I'm too close," but he's like, "Hey, man, like, you know, love the way you play." I was like, "Love the way you play too." Oh, did we get a couple guys to bounce out? I think they saw the owner here, and they didn't want to come in.
are they taking advantage of your?
I think they're
scaling
taking.
system?
They think they're taking advantage. I might have a talk with them in a
They
second.
just got caught on camera. Don't do it again. Don't do that.
Don't do that. So yeah, like, you know, I was like, okay, this freshman is a pretty good ball player, and like I line out, right? And I'm like, okay. He's like, hey, good swing. I'm like, thanks.
He said that to you?
Yeah.
You insulting
Oh, son of a... And it's one of those things where, like, I knew he's being nice, and I was kind of like, you're really nice as a freshman. Like, you seem really mature. And then he gets up to bat and he pops one out of the fence. I'm like, you mother. Like,
he's like, now he's like looking down on you.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
okay.
And obviously he's continued to have a great career. He's got, what, World Series ring?
Yeah, with the Houston Astros,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, I want to say he's with the White Sox. I don't know where he's at now.
I don't know where he's at, but yeah, man, that guy, it was one of those things where I've heard stories relayed from, I think, his dad to Espo to me, who was our high school coach, talking about, like, yeah, he would run right after school, he'd run to the gym, he would, like, I think it was like 2 miles, 3 miles or something like that. He'd work out, he'd run back, he'd go as like a 7th to 8th grader. And then he'd go to his dad's because his dad coached varsity high school baseball. Yeah. So he'd go and practice with the varsity team as
Yuba City Hawkers.
Yuba City Hawkers.
Yuba City Hawkers.
And then he would go and practice with them. And then I think his dad even said he worked out after that. And it's like, that right there is a kid that made a choice at a young age. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make it no matter what. Right? And look at him now. It's like, he made the choice. Was he physically gifted with height? Not necessarily. Neither was I. Was he physically gifted with speed? No, not necessarily. Neither was I. He was physically gifted in the fact that he made himself physically gifted. Right. And now, I mean, if me and him were to go back in time and do it all over again, he doesn't need to change anything. Right. I would need to change a lot.
You would need to put that work in.
Yep.
I'm with you. That reminds me of a good story of my buddy Eric Fetty. He plays for the Washington Nationals. We went to UNLV together. I was a senior. He was a freshman. 6'4" dude, right-hander, threw pretty hard.
6'4" dude.
Had a slider that just nasty. First round draft pick to the Washington Nationals in 2014, around that time.
Okay.
But dude, I'm not gonna lie. When I was going there, he would do little things that kind of like just extra stuff, you know, whether it be Jaeger bands. He'd grab this little 3-pound weight and like lay to the side before practices. You know, we'd all kind of give him grief for it. You know, kind of, oh, what are you doing? Why do you do that, dude? You know, he'd just do weird stuff. There's like Bauer.
Trevor Bauer. I was literally thinking of that same thing.
Exactly like Trevor Bauer. He would do weird stuff.
We don't recommend anything that else outside of the baseball field that Trevor Bauer does.
Right. Yeah. But he would just do weird stuff like that, and you know, a couple of us would always give him grief. Not like, hey, you're an idiot, you know.
Yeah.
Keep it cool, but you know, we would make fun of him, and then now looking back, I'm just like, damn. He did all that little stuff. Imagine if I had done that little stuff. Maybe my flexibility is a little bit better. Maybe my shoulder strength is a little bit better. Maybe I'm throwing 5 miles an hour harder. You know, and then that's the kind of stuff you look back. I would, had we started at the same time and I put that same amount of work in, who knows? I might be in a different space.
Yeah, right. You might be on the bigger podcasts of Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. Guy beats cancer in a weird spot, makes it to the pros. It's not a bad story. You know what I mean?
On YouTube right now with like 1 million followers.
1 million followers.
Famous.
It's okay. I got 53.
Yeah.
I'm on my way.
You're there. You're almost there. I feel like you're there.
I'm so close.
You get past 50, man. You're making it.
Right? Well, with this new background, I mean, how can we not make it? I need a better camera, I'm assuming. I can't keep using my iPhone. But yeah, that's the little stuff that matters. And obviously, for a lot of guys, it's the big stuff too. Obviously, you know, I'm dealing with the rock baseballs coming in. We have, I think we have 7th, 8th graders, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. All of that whole group is coming in here, and you can see a lot of these guys just need general base work, right? Mm-hmm. Where like squat positioning, making sure that the shoulders are nice and strong, and all that kind of stuff. But they have someone who's been in their shoes, right? Multiple guys. I mean, you're here, Mort's here, and he says the same thing. A couple other coaches are helping out, and they have a bunch of guys telling them like, hey, this is the kind of stuff, the little stuff that you need to do, along with the big stuff, and do the extra work, and come in on Thanksgiving. I had 3 guys today come in and be like, hey, can I get a key fob to get in the Thanksgiving Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm like, yeah,
They're addicted.
yeah, go for it. Like, and if they can, if 1 of 10 get addicted, I feel like I've done my job, right?
Right.
Especially nowadays, with how much distraction these kids have. Even myself has a lot of distractions, but like with them, getting them to get the idea that you can't go back in time and work harder, kind of like when we get the itch that we can't scratch. You can't go back in time and do the 5 days a week working out to get yourself a scholarship to college. Like, I can't go back in high school. What I can do is that thing I did on the weekend where I sacrificed time in the gym or on the field. I can do that now. I can go and party. I can go and go play video games until 1 o'clock in the morning. I can do that now. And that's an itch I can forever scratch. The itch I can't scratch is the one to go back in time and get better.
Right.
And that's kind of the biggest relay. Could you stop? Lay down. The biggest message I want to relay to these kids.
Yeah. Well, I think, dude, some of my, young guys, we ran that program in here, getting our program in the door, and those kids, man. I think, what do we have, like 20 kids come in and out throughout the week, maybe?
I was gonna say, yeah,
You know,
we had quite a bit. We had a good little group.
And how many of them signed up and wanted to do gym memberships after that? They just loved the place.
Yeah.
I think getting these kids exposed to this kind of atmosphere, especially in the sports world, is important. Just to get them into, we're not saying come in and lift heavy weights, but
At least
my
make it a
boys-
routine.
Right. Back to the finding a routine kind of thing. I think that's the cool thing about what we get to do is we get to help these kids find those routines and bringing the baseball kids in here and I got so many reviews from my parents just saying, "Oh, Johnny loves it." He's a little intimidated by all the heavy lifters, but he's all talking about working out now, and that's kind of what we want as a coach. And those are those small victories that you kind of look back and you're depressed about your career maybe, but then you get to get some self-satisfaction out of helping someone younger than you on their way up. So
I mean, I will forever vicariously live through young athletes that want to get better. You know what I mean? Speaking of, like, you don't have to lift a whole bunch of weight. There's recently a young man from Lincoln. He came in not necessarily gifted with coordination or strength, but he listens and he can apply, right? And so he went from having a hard time back squatting 40 kilos or like 88 pounds to now he just PR'd his power clean at, I think it was 63 kilos today. And he's back squatting regularly over 100 kilos, like 220 pounds. So he is expanded. Now, is he the most athletic on the field right now? Not necessarily. There's probably guys that are more athletic, but he's the most athletic that he's ever been in his life. And that right there, I think, is the more measurable for me victory versus some D1 guy that comes in and gets a little bit better in the gym and then continues on with his D1 stuff.
Right.
Like the huge jump in performance for this young man at Lincoln is like, yes, that's the feeling. Like, oh man, I'm gonna get a little chills here.
right. What's this passion right there, man?
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
and he's pretty regular too. I think 4 or 5 times a week for the last 5 months.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I got a letter the other day from one of my players that used to coach when I was 12, and it was just random. I hadn't talked to the kid in years. Hey, Coach Eddie, wanted to reach out. It was just like, hey, you helped me back in the day with workouts and stuff. I just got a scholarship,
Hey.
at Oregon State, and I was just, hey man, that's
Oregon
awesome.
State?
Yeah.
Dang.
Oregon State, yeah, it was a good little success story for him, and I was close with his parents and stuff like that. They were good people, but yeah, man, those small victories like that kind of
Makes you feel good.
kind
Kind of gives you purpose, right? And it kind of falls back into our original like conversation about like you identify as Chris the baseball player or Jesse the left-handed pitcher or whatever it is, good curveball guy or whatever. Now that's taken away. Now we can fill that in with something that, in my perspective, is probably the most meaningful thing we'll have.
Yeah.
Obviously, like outside of like marriage and children, like there's a lot of meaning behind what I feel like I can do and help these kids get better. Like some of these kids, they could just look at a weight and get better. It's really awesome to see. But then it's also fun just to like conversate with them, and part of our conversations that we have here isn't even about working out. It's about like, hey man, like I know that subwoofer is really cool, and you want to spend $300 on it, but what else could you do with $300 that in 20 years makes you more well off than $300 or a subwoofer, right? Yeah, and some of those conversations and some of the conversations that I wish I had more of as a young child was like, you know, what does a career look like to you? You know what I mean? For me, it was like, I'm going to go play baseball as long as it is, and I'll figure it out from there. When it's like, the odds of me really making it, just off of my overall athleticism, was pretty low.
We had no plan B.
Yeah, and we really didn't have a plan B. And then, like, so our buddy Tyler, right? What did he do right after senior college?
Or DeWitt. DeWitt.
What did he do right after college? He went to work the utilities, man. That guy is having a ball. He's got a beautiful family. He's got a beautiful home. He gets to go and travel, and obviously he works his butt off for that kind of stuff. But his mentality was, all right, this is my plan. And I think he had that plan way early in his career. I mean, basically he got that. I think it's his dad or stepdad did that stuff, or maybe both.
He got involved with it through family connection.
Yeah, and so that's the conversation that like a lot of people I think need to have, and this is probably a great setting to do that because we're here, we're stuck together for an hour and a half. Like let's have a whole bunch of conversations about that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's another success thing. If some kid goes out and he becomes successful outside of baseball, based off of some conversations that he's like, oh, when you said that, it triggered something. Like, I'd love to hear that story if anyone has that. You know what I mean? So yeah, he kept saying, don't be a gym owner. I don't know. So I became a gym owner. Like, don't do that. Don't become a gym. Why? Well, if you want to be poor and in the gym all day, that's great.
You're doing a pretty good dang job, man.
Well, no, it's really fun. Obviously the goal is to continue to expand and get more people involved that are like-minded like you and Casey and Tim and everyone. I'm probably missing some people, but get more people involved that are they're really pushing. Like The Rock, Fred Saunders, when he came and he conversated, we talked on the phone for like an hour. I was just pacing in the back about how he's like, this is the priority, and it's not building a business. The priority is building these young men up to be successful in every aspect of life. And I was like, that's something I can get behind.
Right.
Obviously, for me, there's a little bit of the touch of the business. You know, I want to be successful for my family too.
Right.
But he has a career outside of him running The Rock. And a lot of these other coaches who are top-end coaches are now getting a little bit more money for their time and effort, motivating them to advance their knowledge. And I think that right there, I think a lot of people forget about.
Right. Well, I think the best programs are the ones that have that kind of, outlook on what they want to do. There's so many programs in the travel ball world, especially nowadays, is people are realizing that they can create their own team and, and then kind of do their own thing, which is good, but at the same time, some of them do it for the money, instead of the player development. And, you can definitely tell something, for our program, that's one of the things that we try to live by is development and making sure that, the kids getting prepared for high school baseball. Our goal is to have all of our players make their high school teams.
And do you have so what's the name of your guys' team again?
The Sierra Nevada Wolves.
Sierra Nevada Wolves.
Yes.
You guys have a website?
Yes, SierraNevadaWolves.com. Like I said, my buddy Kyle Richardson started it a few years ago. He started with I want to say it was a 112U team. And he kind of, I don't speak for him on the exacts of it, but I feel like he started that and wanted to expand the group. And then I reached out to him one day, kind of looking to be a pitching guy for the program, because I was getting done with baseball.
Needed something to do.
Yeah, I was kind of, I had this vision of what I wanted to do with programs and stuff like that as far as lessons go. So I reached out to him and got involved. He gave me a 11U team that we started with. Then we ended up getting to 6 teams this year. 2 14U
Wow, 16?
teams.
Holy
yeah.
crap.
We have 2 14U teams. We have a 13U team, 12U, 11U, and 10U. And we actually just finished up last week was our first season with 6 teams, half season, fall season. So, yeah, man, it's a good program. He has he has that, mindset that we were talking about, development. We don't care about money necessarily. Kyle's goal is to get the kids to the next level, to get them to the high school level, and he teaches baseball the right way with good discipline. And I love the program. I've had a blast ever since. I've been with them for about a year and a half now. But yeah, the Sierra Nevada Wolves, the purple team.
The purple team.
The purple team.
And I think developing, I don't want to say mecca, but like a really baseball-driven community, right? I would say obviously in this 80 corridor, right? And obviously 50 has quite a bit too, but this 80 corridor, there's a ton of guys coming out of here pretty consistently, right? And if we can make more guys come out of here like that, then more guys that more guys get more looks because they're checking out some other guy. More guys are getting opportunities, and that's kind of where I think I've had connections with most of the travel ball teams in this area, and you can definitely tell that most of the travel ball guys are really pushing it. Like, I really want to make these kids better.
Right.
Obviously, there's always going to be outliers of guys that are just mainly doing it to pad their own stats or whatever. But if we can get these kids to be a different breed of people, you know what I mean? Like they are little mutants because the amount of testosterone they have is ridiculous, and they could do as much stuff in the gym as possible or on the field. But also then to hone those abilities, those mutant abilities, into each guy, each high school baseball team having 8 D1 commits. I think like Wood Creek has like 8 right now.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a ton of guys going off and playing high level baseball. And if you can keep drawing that in and keep having that population get better and better and better, all of a sudden it's like, all right, well if he wants to go recruit a whole bunch of good players at once,
go
to the Roseville area.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you. Well, there's a lot of top name schools in this area too, man. There's ball players, Granite Bay, Rockland, Roseville, Jesuit, Yuba City, like all the way,
Yep.
there's powerhouse schools, so
Folsom
much
High
talent.
School.
Folsom. The list goes on, man. There's talent everywhere, and it's
Not that El Camino school though.
yeah, El Camino school, and there's only one guys from time to time that come out of there.
Heard he was a quarterback too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I like the attitude. Sit down. I like the attitude for most of right. It's dogs themselves. I like the idea that we're doing it to help these kids, and obviously like a lot of us, we're just passionate about not necessarily the kid individually, but the process of what they do it, right? So everyone can say like, oh, they did this, but like, how did you do it? How did you go about it? Were you the guy on your team that everyone hated and you're an I guy? Like an individual, it's all about me guy? Or were you a guy that said, hey, I see you're messing this up. Like, here's how it helps, or like, get your shit together. Were you a team guy, right? And I like the idea of like, you might not necessarily be the 5-tool recruit, but if you're a 4-tool recruit and you're a big team guy, like, I think that's even better.
Oh yeah, you can roll with that.
But, well, did we get out whatever we wanted to get out?
I think we did pretty well for not having an agenda.
We had zero agenda.
We bounced around a little bit, but
we kind of honed it in. Basically, we say Sierra Nevada Wolves travel ball is the best in the area. Major League Performance and Strength
check us out.
Has got the best gym ever invented, with some knuckleheads running it. So that's about it. Peace out.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yes.